Alright, this is part 2 of the JSP series using Box to generate Ittrium JSPs. And so in this part we're going to start using Box to actually lay out a page, and we're going to insert Ittrium CMS tags, which is one of our own conventions that we'll ultimately use to generate the JSP extensions that we need to reach into the CMS. So to get you started, I'm going to do something very simple you can do with Box. I'm going to add a row to my page. Alright, and if I do nothing else but export this code, Box will generate blueprint compliant code, and if I view it through an editor here, I'll see that I have one row in here, span 24 last. Okay, so I'm going to take up the entire width of my page with this one div. All right, but I need to do more than that. So our use of Box is what we allow for is to insert a tag which is our own convention called a CMS tag. And one of the things you can add in a CMS tag is a view, and you can give it one of Ittrium's view names, and in this case I'm going to use the tools view. And tools is really just a list of links to what we typically call tools like log in and log out. When I add this code and I export it, it'll do exactly what it did before, but it'll insert this code inside the div. So now if I look at my page, I'm going to see that I've got a CMS tools tag in here. All right. Now this is no good in HTML, but we need to transform this into something useful. So now we're going to return, and we're going to use our Livewire tool that we demonstrated earlier, and it's already pre-configured, so I'm just going to click the Do It button and it'll generate my new code. Alright, and then I'm going to return to Eclipse here just so you can see the code in an editor and see what happened here. Okay, so Box produced these lines. Alright, so the container and the first div. And then our transformation of that, we actually add some lines. So we add a standard wrapper that is available that spans the entire width of the browser. And then for this first view, we've actually added a tools wrapper that allows us to put a background image or a color or something just on that tools region that spans the entire width of the browser. So anytime you see the term dash wrapper in an ID, that means entire width of the page. Okay, it's going to wrap the container. All right, now here's our regular container produced by Box. Here's our first div that is produced by Box, but we added an ID to this div so we could identify which view this region goes with in case we want to do some additional styling or something that's going to be associated with that section of the page. And then inside that, we're going to generate some new code. Now in Box, you don't want to put any padding or margins on any span element. It'll break the grid instantly if you add padding. So we came up with our own convention to add a system-generated div with a class of spacing. So if I'm coding the CSS, I can do a #tools.spacing and put padding on that, and it won't affect my grid. All right. And then we also have an align attribute here that we'll explain in a bit, and that's there for horizontal alignment. Typically, we just generate it by default every time, and we use it to do additional alignment options like text align left and right. And there are reasons for that as well. And then the last thing we generate is an actual JSP tag, which is the Ittrium view named tools. And in our world, we've added a path attribute here to say we're always going to find the tools information in the home page of the site. There is no path key here. All right, so to see this in action, if I return to a browser and I refresh now, I'll have a couple of links here. And these are my tools. All right, so nothing fancy here, no great formatting here, but if you do inspect the code here, what you're going to see is a standard way we generate a list of items in Ittrium. So there's lots of information here, things that are very helpful for how you style a page. So you'll see everything from the depth of the item in the list to what position it is in the list, whether it's the last thing in the list, whether it's on the path, off the path, etc. All right, so this is the end of the second lesson, and we'll continue on from here.